Let's now turn our attention to the Linux 2 user. Let's log into the domain joined Linux host using Linux 2 user credentials. Type in tetranoodle/Linux2. Click on Login, provide the password, and click on Login again. Okay, great. We are able to log in as Linux 2. Now, while the user Linux 2 is logged into this Linux host, let's switch to the Windows domain controller server and reset the password for this user Linux 2 user. Here is the user. Let's right-click on it and click on the menu option called Reset Password. Let's type in the new password and confirm it. Let's uncheck this checkbox for forcing the user to change their password upon next login and click OK to save this new password. And we get a confirmation dialog which informs us that the password for Linux 2 has been changed. Now let's switch back to the Linux host and log out. Now let's try to log back in using the original password for our user Linux 2. Follow the same steps. Type in the username including the domain name. Click on Login. Type the old password. Click on Login. And we get this error, wrong password, and authentication failure. Okay, good. So this is exactly what we expected. Now let's try to log in using the new password. Yes, it has accepted the new password. We were successfully able to log into a Linux host using the new password set by the domain administrator. Generally, most IT teams adopt these processes. When a domain user loses or forgets their password, the network administrator can go into the user's management console and reset their password. In most cases, they also force the user to change their password upon next login. Let's try it out now. We are back in the Active Directory Users and Computers dashboard. Let's right-click on Linux 2 user and reset the password. Let's make sure to check this checkbox for forcing the user to change their password on next login. Click on OK. Okay, cool. So we got confirmation that the password has been changed. We can consider this a temporary password. Now what happens is that the system administrator gives the temporary password to the user via some secure online or offline means. User will now attempt to log into the system using the new temporary password. Let's try it out now. Supply the username and temporary password which the user got from the administrator and click on Login. And as soon as the authentication is successful, the user is prompted to change the password and supply a new secure password which is only known to the user. Okay, great. Now we have successfully logged into this domain joined Linux host and we have also changed our domain password. So that is how password policies can be implemented and enforced in a Windows domain. That brings us to the end of this module. Let's recap what you learned in this module. This module was all about management of password policies in a Windows domain environment. You also reviewed the login process while modifying these password policies. We logged into the Linux system, where the Linux system is the domain joined system, and the password policy is deployed through a domain controller, which in this case is running on the Windows Server 2012 R2. Stay tuned for the next module where we will discuss the process involved in sharing drives and files across the network.